When you first start the application, you will be put onto this page. This is essentially a landing page for the various parts of the application. As you can probably figure out by the name of the application as well as some of the imaging that we've used, the application basically tracks cargo across the world and has different facets of how this cargo is actually managed and tracked. The first one is what is a public tracking interface. So let's go ahead and open that for a second. So this is similar to a tracking interface that you may have on a site like USPS or FedEx. So you've basically registered your cargo with the cargo tracking company, and you've been given a tracking ID. And so you can now use this tracking ID to see what is going on with your bit of cargo. So let's say we have a tracking ID of ABC123. We can go ahead and track that, and we can see that ABC123 is currently in New York. It's destined to arrive in Helsinki in a given time, and we can also see what has happened with this bit of cargo, so its handling history. And so we can see that it was received in Port Hong Kong, where its origin is. It was put on a voyage in Hong Kong and then unloaded onto a voyage in New York, where it currently is. Let's take a look at another one. Let's take a look at JKL567. And as you can see, this is now currently on board a voyage, but it is misdirected. So we cannot really determine what the estimated arrival time is. And we can also see what went wrong with the handling. So we can see that it was received in Hangzhou correctly. It was loaded onto a voyage in Hangzhou, unloaded in New York, but then loaded onto another voyage by mistake, which is why this cargo is currently misdirected. Let's keep this tracking interface open. We will need it in just a second. The second interface is the administrative interface. So this is intended for basically keeping people keeping track of the cargo, the administrators on the shipping company side. The first page that you will land at is essentially the monitoring interface, the dashboard, if you will, and this shows you what is going on with all of the cargo that you have registered. As you can see, there's three different distinct sections to it. One is the routed section, and this is cargo that already has been committed to a route and is on its way. There's a not routed section, and this is cargo that was just booked and was not really assigned to a route yet, and definitely is not on its way. And then there's a claim section that tells you, okay, these are all of the interfaces, all of the bits of cargo that have already been claimed by their customers because they arrived at their destination port on plan. The last interface that we have for this application is a mobile interface, as you can see. So this is the other actors that are in this application, folks at the port that actually work on cargo. So when you receive a bit of cargo, or when you load a cargo onto a voyage, or you unload a cargo from a voyage at the port, the folks at the port will use this mobile interface to actually register events, to say, hey, these are the things that are happening to this bit of cargo. And this is actually the data that will go in the back end and get registered with the final customer's tracking information, as well as the shipping company's own monitoring system. Okay, so let's start with the life cycle of a cargo. You start the life cycle of a cargo in the administrative interface by booking it. So perhaps a customer will call and say that they want to go from, let's say, Japan, Tokyo, and they want their cargo to get to let's say Helsinki, and they want this cargo to arrive let's say in April of 28th. So we have 78 days by which we can ship this. We have time to ship this cargo. So we'll go ahead and book this cargo, and it will show up in the not routed section because we really haven't assigned this to a route yet. We've just taken the order from the customer. The next step is to actually route this cargo, and the way you do that is by clicking on this little globe. When you click on the little globe, you'll see that you get a little tooltip that says this cargo is not routed. Click on this ID to route it. So we'll go ahead and route this now. So when I attempt to do this, I will start something similar to a airline reservation system. So there's various ways that I can ship this cargo from Tokyo to Helsinki using the various registered voyages that I have in my system currently. I can pick one of them, so I'll just pick route candidate 2 at random, and I'll go back to my my dashboard, and now this cargo is routed. So it is going from Tokyo to Helsinki. It is at unknown location and it is not received. But if you click on the details of it, you will notice that it is now committed to a route. Okay, so we know how this cargo is going to go from point A to point B. Now let's act on a bit of cargo for a second. So let's, for example, we will pick the A4 tracking ID cargo. So let's go ahead and search for it on the tracking interface. So we can see that it is currently not received. Okay, its origin port, as we can see from here, is in Tokyo. So let's go ahead and say that somebody in Tokyo will say, okay, I have received this cargo at this port. Okay, so we will pick the tracking ID here, A4 something. We'll pick the port to be Japan Tokyo, which I have to scroll down a bit to get. And I'll say that I've received this cargo. Okay, I'll now hit next. When you receive a bit of cargo, you're receiving at a port, so there's no voyage associated with it yet. Okay, so I'll simply say that I've received this cargo today. Okay, and I'll go ahead and submit. It's taking just a second for the submission to go through. As you can see from the progress button there, the event is now submitted. So behind the scenes, the event is now submitted and actually has triggered a change in the cargo. So if we do a track again, we will see that this cargo is now in the port. Okay, so it is currently in port and on its way. Now you can actually look at all of this in real time, all of the changes that happen on the system in real time, not just based on a static interface like this, but a dynamic interface. But let's reload this page a second, and we'll see that okay, our cargo is now in port Tokyo. Okay, so the system is updated, and you can see the changes, but you can see them in real time using this particular dashboard. But you can actually take a look at all of the information live as well. So you do that by opening up the live tracking interface. Okay, so here is that interface. This is essentially a live map, a map that will update in real time by itself without you having to do anything at all. All of the dots represent various cargo states. So we'll take a look at the one in Tokyo, for example. Okay, so as we can see, it's currently in port. We'll make a change to another bit of cargo that's sitting in Melbourne. Okay, so this bit of cargo right now, as you can see, is on board a carrier. Okay, we'll see which carrier it is on board now, and we'll actually make a change to this and see how this is reflected automatically in the live tracking interface. So let's go back and check on that cargo that we're going to change now. That is this one. Okay, so according to its plan, it is currently on 03017. To confirm that, let's find it in the tracking interface. So as we can see, it's on board this voyage. It's not yet arrived in its final destination. Its destination is Stockholm. Okay, but it is due to arrive there on 2/12. So now we're going to effect that particular change in the mobile tracking interface again. Okay, so I'll pick the cargo. I will say that it is going to arrive in its destination, which I believe is going to be Stockholm. Yes, that happens to be Sesto. That's the port code. The event is going to be a receive, or rather an unload, pardon me, and it's going to be unloaded from voyage 0301S, okay, which is the cargo that it is currently on right now. Okay, I'll hit next. All right, and I'll say this cargo is going to be arriving on February 12th. Okay, so notice what happens when I hit submit, and notice what happens to this little dot. Okay, so I will hit submit. Okay, the event is submitted. Okay, and as you can see, without my having to reload this page, the dot has now moved from Melbourne. It is no longer in Melbourne, and it shows up in Stockholm. Okay, as you can see, this is where it shows up in Stockholm now. All right, just to confirm, we can again track it and see that yes, this cargo is currently now in Stockholm. If I updated if I take a look at the dashboard, the dashboard will tell me essentially the same thing. Okay, that it is currently going to be in port there. So similarly, all cargo goes through this interface in the mobile tracker. So generally, what happens is cargo is received, then it is loaded and unloaded onto various voyages until it arrives at its final destination, where it is finally claimed. And it may go through customs at any point in time in a port. Okay. Now, beyond all of this, there is one more interface that you should be aware of, and that is essentially a batch interface. So a larger port can choose to essentially enter event information instead of through just this mobile interface via a batch interface. So let's take a look at example of that. So we'll go take a look at our batch scanner. So our batch scanner essentially looks at a file system location /tmp, and it looks into this directory called uploads, which is currently empty. And what it does is that it essentially processes a batch file. So let's say we have a larger port that gives us a daily batch file with all of the events that it has registered, that it has worked on. So as you can see, there is various entries here on this one bit of cargo ABC123. So instead of entering things in the mobile interface, we can simply copy this file onto the uploads directory and have the batch system process this in the back end. So we'll take a look at that, and before we do that, we'll see this change again in the live map as well. So let's take a look to find where ABC123 is currently. Okay, so as you can see, ABC123 is currently in New York. Okay, so that's the dot representing it right there. So we will go ahead and copy this file over onto the uploads directory file, and the system will scan for this. The system currently, for demo purposes, I have it running every 2 minutes or so. So we will just wait a few seconds, hopefully no more than a minute or so, for this for this file to be picked up. When it is actually processed, it will show up in this other directory called archives. We can take a look at the interface itself to see when it actually is picked up. So we'll just give it a few seconds, and we'll see in our Glassfish console when the file is picked up. Looks like the file scanner, the last time it ran was at 11:34, so it should be due to run at any point in time. Remember now that the live interface is still there. Okay, and the dot representing ABC123 is currently in New York. Okay, so there is the file scanner. It has registered a bit of cargo, registered the event. Let's go take a look at the archive now. Okay, and as you can see, there is an archive file now with the entries that we processed. Okay, so these are all of the entries that were processed. The uploads file should be empty now. Okay, so there is nothing here. It was moved to the archive. As you can see, the system is now working. It's working on all of those batched events. And notice what has happened. ABC123 is no longer in New York, but it has moved into Stockholm as well. And as you can see, it is currently in a different status than it used to be. To finish all this off, let's take a look at ABC123 again in our tracking interface. Okay. And as we can see now, it has arrived in its final destination in Helsinki. Similarly, if we updated the dashboard, you'll see ABC123 is in Helsinki at the moment. Okay, that is it. I hope you take a look at the application and explore it further, and explore how this is implemented using domain-driven design and Java EE.